Thank you. Now I give the floor to Mr. Claudio Cordone for his concluding remarks. Please, you have the floor.
Thank you. Let me start with the broadest question that was put by the distinguished delegate of Germany. How can the international community best contribute to achieving acceptance of the political agreement and put Libya back on track for a political transition? Actually, on behalf of the SRSG Leon, I wish to thank the many countries in this hall that are supporting this process, either financially or by hosting many of the negotiation meetings. That includes Morocco, Algeria, Egypt, the EU, and Tunisia, where, of course, both UNSMIL and the investigation team of the Office of the High Commissioner are based. And I also wish to thank in particular the government of Germany and Switzerland for facilitating and supporting the meetings regarding Misrata and Tawarga that I mentioned at the beginning. Coming to the core of the question, I think the critical thing, and here I repeat what the SRSG Leon has been saying, including in the last few days, is to stress that there is no alternative to a political compromise, to a political solution. Unfortunately, there are still, I believe, parties in Libya that think that they can militarily defeat their opponents and maybe in doing so count on external support. I think it is imperative that both in concrete terms the pledge of support for the mediation efforts of the UN and for a political settlement be actually implemented. All key countries, neighboring countries, members of the Security Council and everybody else have pledged support for this political process, and it is important that this emphasis is maintained. There isn't really a plan B, there isn't really an alternative to a political solution. One other concrete things that the international community can do, I referred before to accountability as critical within the political agreement and as complementary to the political efforts, both to deal with the past but also hopefully to deter further crimes. And in this respect, today there were many appeals for support of the International Criminal Court. We know that the court has indicated an issue of resources, and we certainly hope that that can be overcome so that the court can expand its investigations in looking into the current violations and not just what happened before. And of course, as soon as it becomes practically feasible, the UN mission and the Office of the High Commissioner are ready to support the rebuilding of the Libyan judicial system that is in such a dire state at the moment, as has been repeatedly mentioned. On the point about women participation that has been raised by a number of speakers, I will give you some examples of the efforts that we've been trying to do to secure this crucial objective. The political agreement in Article 2 states, for example, that the government of national accord shall give the necessary consideration to the geographic dimension, cultural components, and fair representation of women and youth when selecting its members. In the course of the process, we have tried to include women and members of civil society in a number of meetings, and most recently we have also held specifically dedicated meeting of women activists and one meeting of civil society activists to continue to contribute to the shaping of the agreement. We have also in some of the meetings, for example, of the Libyan municipalities, asked that encourage the participation of women by indicating that some municipalities could bring 2 instead of 1 delegate if the second one was a woman. And in the process of the Misrata and Tawarga mediation, we insisted that women be part of the joint committee and be an effective part of the joint committee. And we're pleased to see that we have a number of women participating in that. And finally, like the investigation team of the Office of the High Commissioner, the monitoring team of UNSMIL, the Human Rights Division, includes 4 women out of its 6 international staff, and some of them have actual direct experience in issues such as sexual violence and crimes relating to women. Finally, in terms of the situation of the crew of the Russian tanker, SRSG Leon has intervened with the prosecutor in Tripoli on 26th of September regarding their situation. We're following closely their situation. They're now held in Misrata and in a Coast Guard facility, and we will continue to make sure that they're well treated and that their case is resolved as swiftly as possible, together with the cases of other foreigners that are held in Libya, and of course with the many thousands of Libyans who still await a resolution of their detention. Thank you.
Thank you. We have now concluded the interactive dialogue on the oral update of the High Commissioner on Libya.